Hi guys, it's Alex and welcome back to my channel for part 2 of making NED Keychain and Christmas decoration. In this video I'm going to show you how to make the cute little Santa hat, including the pom-pom and the little yellow Bandito's bandana that Ned's wearing here. Now the things you're going to need today for the project: some red and white yarn for the Santa hat, yellow yarn for the bandana, crochet hook, pair of scissors, a darning needle, a dinner fork, and a keychain split ring or some cord or fishing line to hang your little Ned from. Now before we start, just wanted to remind you that I have 2 of these cute NED stitch markers to give away. All you have to do is create this project, post it to Instagram with the hashtag by the end of January, and I'll be sending 2 of these off, worldwide postage included, to 2 people. Best of luck! Okay, so let's get on with the project. So in part 1 we made our little Ned, the whole head with the horns, the ears, eyes in place. And now we're continuing on to make the Santa hat and the bandana. We're going to start with the bandana. So grab your yellow yarn and your hook. Now we're going to be starting on a foundation row of chain stitch. So create your slip knot. And then we're going to chain 10 chain stitches. Eight, 9, and 10. Okay, so we're going to start by crocheting into the second chain from the hook, a single crochet, followed by 3 more single crochet stitches. 1, 2, 3. Then we're going to increase 2 times. Then single crochet 4, which will give us a total of 12 single crochet stitches along that row. And we're going to skip the very first stitch space and single crochet into the next space. And then that's 1, and we're going to do 7 single crochets, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, now we're going to decrease by single crocheting the next 2 stitches together, and chain 1. Turn our work. Again, we're going to skip that next stitch space and single crochet into the next space. And there'll be 5 single crochets along here. That's 3, 4, and 5. And then a decrease. So single crocheting these next 2 stitches together. Chain 1, turn your work, skipping that first stitch space and single crocheting 3 times. It's 2 and 3 and single crocheting those 2 stitches together, so that decrease. Chain 1, turn your work, skip that first stitch, single crochet and decrease, chain 1, turn your work. So we're going to go into that first space and then the next and make that, and just decrease by crocheting those 2 stitches together, chain 1, turn your work, slip stitch and trim your yarn. Leave enough of a tail of yarn so that you can sew it back into the bandana so you can't see that thread where it's finished. Pull the yarn through and you basically have just created the bandana. Now remember, if I've worked a little bit too fast for you, you can always slow that down. It's great that YouTube has that feature that you can speed up or slow down the video. I'll also pop some timestamps in the description so that you can go straight to the part of the tutorial that you want to find. Now I've just threaded the tail here, running it along the edge of the bandana. So where we actually finished is that final point on the bandana. So I'm running it back towards where it will join onto Ned's neck or underneath his head. So you won't see that tail. Trim him off. And now it's time to sew it to Ned. Now I like to just try and get a central point across from where the ears are, so right across the middle of the head so that the bandana sits back a little bit from the front of his face. And just a slight curve looks really cute, but you know, it's totally up to you what you want to do with the positioning. That's just where I found that it sort of sits and looks cutest. Start by stitching to one side, and then I usually just insert the needle into every stitch across. There's only 10 of them, so it doesn't take very long to do that, just to keep it nice and securely in place. So just in through the head, through the white, and up back through the yellow, each stitch. Then when you get to the end, just running your needle backwards and forwards a few times through the project helps snag the yarn so that it won't be easily undone. So you can really tug on that bandana and it won't come out, it won't come undone. So no knots needed, just by running your needle back and forth through the project is enough to keep it all securely in place. Another thing you could do with the bandana when you're finished creating your Ned is to put a little 21 Pilots logo on the front of it, which would be really cute. So you could stitch that on with yarn or embroidery cotton, or even get little pieces of felt just to put on there and glue it onto the front of it. I haven't actually done it with this one because I think Warner can be a bit arsey at times, so I've left that alone, but it would be cute. If I was giving it as a gift, I think I would do that. Now on to making the Santa hat. We're going to start with the white cuff around the bottom part of the hat. So grab your white yarn, and we're going to work on a foundation row to start off with. So you'll need to create a slip knot, and then we're going to chain 26 stitches. And 26. So we're going to join onto the very first chain that we created. You want to keep the front part of your chain all facing out, so it's all doesn't twist basically. So you want to try and keep it all flat. So I'm just curving that around, and I'm going to slip stitch into that very first chain I created. So we've got that nice edge showing. Chain 1 stitch, which forms the first single crochet in that round, and single crochet in the next 25 chain stitches. That will give you a complete round of 26 single crochet stitches. And now we're going to join the end of this round with the beginning of the round by slip stitching through the very back loop of that first chain stitch we created. So that's all joined there. And now we're going to single crochet into the same stitch but through the top 2 loops, and continue right around this round with 26 single crochet stitches in total. .26, and now we're going to just join into the back loop of that first stitch we created. Whoops, now I went to single crochet here. Don't do that. What you want to do with this round is actually only single crochet into the back loop of each of the stitches. So I'll undo that. Okay, a little bit tricky here, but we're just doing our first single crochet into the back loop. Through. There we go. So just the back loops only. When you have a look at the top of the stitches and you'll see the V, there's sort of 2 pieces of 2 loops on the top of each of the stitches. Just picking up that back loop. And what this will actually do with this round is make the little cuff on the hat fold over. It gives it like a little crease, and it makes it a lot easier to sort of sit snugly in place. It'll all make sense in a moment, I promise you. Okay, now we're on to another easy one, straightforward. We'll be joining to the first stitch again in our row that we've just created. And now we'll be single crocheting all the way around, so that will give us 26 stitches. So you've noticed there I just chained for my first stitch. The reason I did this is because of the crease. It just made it a little easier to, rather than doing the transition of the back loop only and then single crocheting through both loops, it just made it a little bit easier because of that back loop row that we did with the crease. So this is the last of our white rounds. So we've got to the end here, and you can see how that's going to curve over quite nicely. We're going to change to our red yarn, but we're going to reverse the order in which we're working in. You'll see what I mean in a minute. Okay, so you can cut off your white yarn, leaving quite a small tail because we won't need to use that for sewing in and you won't see it. Join your red yarn by tying a knot onto the white yarn. Nice and firm, slip the yarn down, and we're just going to slip stitch into that very first stitch in our round. Now we're going to chain one, and we're going to turn our work around. So this looks a bit confusing, but there's a reason for doing this, and that's because we've got the cuff looking really nice on the outside, and if we continued just crocheting around in the red, we would end up with just seeing the inside part of the crochet stitch, which is not as nice as the outside. So by turning it around and going back in the reverse order, we're going to now make the top part of the hat with the really nice facing crochet stitch. So yeah, just a simple little trick. So we're going to single crochet all the way around in the red. So that's 26 stitches. And I've got to admit, I kind of started feeling a bit festive actually when I got to putting the red on the hat. It sounds really corny, and it probably is, but it's like, woo, Christmas! And that completes the first of our red rounds, which was round 6. Now on to round 7. Now for round 7, you chain 1, work 7 single crochets, a decrease, 7 single crochets, a decrease, and 7 single crochets. And that will give you 24 stitches at the end of this round. Now, if you wanted to, you can continue to work in rounds or in spirals. It really doesn't matter from here on in, because with the red, you don't really see the join at the back of the hat, and you don't need to have perfect alignment of rows either. So it's up to you whether you want to do a transition method, chain 1 at the beginning of each round, or whether you want to continue just working in spirals. Completely up to you. It's going to work out exactly the same. Continue on to round 8, which is 24 single crochet stitches. I'm just pulling through the tails of my red and white yarn where they've been joined so that it's inside the hat now. So you can see that cute little cuff that's working really well. Hi Ned! Round 9 is 4 single crochets, 1 decrease, and you do that 4 times round, giving you 20 stitches. For round 10, it's simply 20 single crochet stitches. For round 11, it's 3 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease, and you do that 4 times, giving you a total of 16 stitches. And round 12 is 16 single crochet stitches all the way around. Round 13 is 2 single crochet stitches, 1 decrease. You do that 4 times, giving you 12 stitches. Rounds 14 and 15 are 12 single crochet stitches all the way around. Round 16 is single crochet decrease 4 times, giving you 8 stitches. Round 17 and 18 are single crochet all the way around, that's 8 stitches per round. Round 19 is decrease 4 times, giving you 4 stitches. At the end of round 19, slip stitch your last stitch through and trim your yarn and insert the tail to the inside part of the hat just using your hook. So you want to hide all your tails inside the hat, and the only ones that we're going to need is the very first starting white tail that we use. That's to sew on the hat onto Ned's head, and the others won't be used, so they will all get hidden into the hat. Now on to making the pom-pom. So you'll need your white yarn, you'll need to grab your dinner fork. So you'll need to make sure that your fork has 4 prongs, so it actually has a centre hole in it or a centre gap. Cut a length of yarn, say about 30 centimetres or 12 inches long, and insert that into the middle part of your fork, like that. Now we're going to get the white yarn and we're going to wrap it around the fork at least 25 times. Just from experimenting, I'd say around about 25 to 35 times makes a really good pom-pom. So we're just going to wrap that around, not too tightly, but not too loose. A bit hard to explain, but you want to make it fairly easy to get off the fork, but you don't want just to slip off either while you're doing this. snip the yarn off. And now we're going to use that length of yarn that we put through in the first place in the middle, just to tie around really tightly. You want to really give that a nice firm pull around the yarn and tie a knot. Like really put some pressure on it. That's it. Yeah, bunch it all together. Give it a good, nice firm pull. Tie another knot because you just want to make sure that it doesn't want to come undone. Okay. You slip that off the fork and get your scissors, nice sharp scissors, and cut them through all that yarn around the edge. And then the fun bit begins. Now you get to sort of play with it and give it a little trim just to make sure it's nice and round. Some parts sort of might stick out a little bit more than others. Usually you don't need to trim off too much, but give it a nice play within your hands too, with your fingers, and get the yarn to open up and make it nice and plush and fluffy. Yeah, that looks good. Now to put it onto the hat, what you're doing is inserting the two long lengths of the white yarn that you had used to tie around the middle of the pom-pom, and you're going to pull that through to the top of the hat and then fasten it in place by tying a couple of knots. So insert your hook, grab one of those tails and bring it through. This one's not behaving. There you go. Then just pick another spot a couple of stitches apart from where you first inserted that first tail. Pull it through. Turn your hat inside out so you can get to the base of those strands. And I say tie 2 times, but I usually tie 3 or 4 because I'm a bit funny like that. I like to make sure that nothing comes undone. So tie a few knots. Make sure everything's nice and firm. There you go, look, there you go. Told you, a bit funny like that. It's all tied together. This hat's going no place. Trim and turn your hat in the right way. Look at that! It's so cute! So you want to tuck all the loose ends, all the tails inside the hat before we sew it onto Ned. Now with the other hats I've made, I haven't put any fibre fill in them. I've just simply folded them over into place and then stitched them so they would stay like in that, with that nice little fold. But with this one, I'm going to put a little bit of fibre fill in it just to see what it looks like. And I'm just going to hold the hat in place with my stitch marker and a needle, but you could use some pins if you like. Just to make sure I've got it in the right position. And thread your needle. We're just going to do a simple stitch around just to keep the hat in place. Little reminder there, I've got my 2 stitch markers that I'm giving away. Post your picture or your finished Ned to Instagram with the hashtag of Make It With Alex, and 2 people will win a stitch marker each, including worldwide postage. Now we're just going to sew around the white edge, putting the join at the back of Ned's head so that you are least likely to see it. Running a stitch right round. Round the side, just avoid his little horns when you get round to the front there so that they can sit out nicely. If you're still watching this and you're thinking of making a NED, or you are making a NED, thank you so much for your support. I really appreciate it. I've got a fantastic pattern that I'm going to be showing you guys soon. It's a huge NED. Actually, you can make him any size, basically, depending on the yarn you use, but I've got a huge one that you can really have good snuggles and cuddles with. So if you're a fan of 21 Pilots like I am and you love NED, you'll want to stick around for that one. Also, I would love to hear from you about what other 21 Pilots related or band related things you would like me to make, whether it be craft, whether it be amigurumi, whether it be homemade merch. I would love to hear it in the comments. Some of you might know me from Instagram as dacdacgirl, and I do make a lot of 21 Pilots, a lot of top merch. I absolutely adore them, but there's a lot of other bands I really love too. So, and I would love to support your music fandoms as well. So let me know in the comments who you like, what music you like, what bands you like, what ideas you have for me to make some really fun projects so that you can get some, you know, affordable, fun fandom that's not going to cost you a fortune either, just to show your support to different bands that you love. I'm just using a little bit of the red yarn now to stitch the bend in the hat in place. I did use some fibre fill for this hat. I don't like it as much as the version without, but it's up to you what you'd like to do with it. I just feel that it's got enough substance to it to not have to have any fibre fill put into the hat, but if you like it with the fibre fill, by all means do it. Now we're going to add the little hanger onto his hat, and I've got some of this sort of satiny yarn that I've got from the $2 shop, which is quite cute to use. It's in silver and red, but on this one I'm going to use some fishing line, just so when it hangs on the tree you don't see the little hanger. You could use string, you could use yarn. I mean, really it's just a matter of what you have lying around the house that might be useful to use as a hanger. Now I'm just placing my hook in to make sure that I can get a good position for the hanging thread to go through so that NED hangs straight. So just play around with that to get it in the right position. Bring your thread through and tie a knot. Hi NED! Now that's the cute NED pattern that I'll be sharing with you soon. He's adorable. He's so much fun to make too. Okay, and you just trim off that excess yarn. If you're using some of the sort of satiny kind of thread, you could just singe the ends with a little, just with a match or a lighter, just so it doesn't unravel. But apart from that, that's it, you're done. Such a cute little thing. I love him. I love the way he's turned out. I'm hoping that you really enjoy it too. You should see our Christmas tree. It's absolutely covered with NEDs. It's more of a NED themed Christmas tree this year. So I'm super happy with how NED's turned out. I'm hoping you are too, but I have to ask my little dog Piglet what she thinks. Piglet, what do you think of NED? Do you like him? Let's see. Yep, I think Piglet loves NED for sure. Thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. If you've enjoyed this video, please give me a like and consider subscribing for some more fun craft content. Also, comment, please comment. I would love to hear what your ideas are for some new fun creative projects. And I'm ready for the challenge, trust me. Meanwhile, guys, Have a fantastic festive season, and I'm sending you all the best vibes ever. Woo! And remember to stay awesome. Okay, bye.